Load it up.
He's the world's deadliest villain.
Sorry.
He's ruthless.
Don't speak Russian.
And brilliant.
Straight flush.
I'm going to turn Washington, D.C. into a pile of ash.
He's known only as Dieter. And until now, he's been unstoppable. What the world needs is a hero who's so top secret, we don't even know his full name.
Hello, MacGruber.
Don't worry, this is just like Nicaragua.
I got to talk in Nicaragua.
This is nothing like Nicaragua.
My name is MacGruber, capital M. A, C, capital G, R, U, B, E, R! Tiger! Get behind him!
Oh my God, is he dead?
Yes, he's dead! Oh! Don't worry, we got your back. We're only 7 blocks away, so if anything goes down...
7 blocks?
Okay, you got me. About 20 blocks.
Get ready for the best action.
Just do exactly as I say.
I mean comedy. I mean action comedy of the decade.
I'm a virgin.
Not for long.
MacGruber and his team will rid the world of evil once and for all.
I cannot wait to cut off your and shove it in your...
Damn it, MacGruber.
MacGruber.
Where have you been?
I just took an upper decker in the master bathroom.
Upper decker?
Yeah, it's where you take a number 2 in the water tank and not in the bowl. You look great.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, 2 friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
Over the course of like 80 some shows, you've proven you'll do what you want.
77 of this, it'll be, I think, yeah, 77 of this one, and then however many we did of Freddy's, which I think was like around 63 or something like that.
So since we changed the video setup on the podcast,
yeah,
has it been challenging for you not being able to just look at yourself the whole time you're talking?
No, I've actually loved it way more.
I mean, I tried to get you to stop, you just wouldn't.
Dude, I do it on a hilarious thing I've realized recently. I do it on like Discord, like on Zoom, Discord.
Yeah, you just want to look at you.
I don't know why.
I mean, you literally just watched a movie about a deeply toxic narcissist.
Okay.
I mean,
I am nowhere near MacGruber.
No, I didn't say. I mean, like, I didn't say you were MacGruber.
MacGruber.
I mean, you know what?
So I posted about it in the chat. I don't know if you saw it or not. Did you see? Do you know about the Titanic PCP incident with the clam chowder?
I read a little bit about it when you were talking about it.
I was just blown away by the fact that, like, I've been such a huge fan of Titanic most of my life, but B, that as many interviews as I've watched as Paxton over the years, because anytime Paxton does an interview, I'll usually watch it because he's really an interesting dude, but was, rest in peace. But hearing him tell Larry King that story was pretty insane. And I mean, if for those who aren't aware of it, there was a incident on a shooting day of Titanic where none of the main cast were there. So like Leo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, they were not there. But it was Cameron, it was Bill Paxton, it was some of the other side characters, and then a bunch of crew people. And apparently at some point in the lunch, PCP got mixed into the clam chowder.
It happens. Yeah.
So huge Hollywood
Do they have
movie.
any idea how?
No one has never come forward. No one has ever admitted to it.
And
like
we're sure he didn't just tell that story to see if Larry King was awake.
No,
Okay.
because he's not the only one that's been recorded and seen telling that story.
Okay.
Because basically, from what I understand from his version of it, because Cameron also has a version of it too, but from his version, they'd gotten through lunch. They both of them had a little bit of clam chowder, and one of the set PAs came up to him and was just like, "Hey, did you guys eat the clam chowder?" And Bill was like, "Well, yeah, I had a little bit." And Jim was like, "Yeah, I had a bowl." And he's like, "Okay, just watch yourselves. There might be something going on with it." And then word got that people were starting to freak out. There was a bunch of singing going around on. Some of the set people like locked themselves in an office and started like doing like a roller coaster thing, apparently. Bill Paxton got into his weed bag that he had on set with him and smoked a little bit on top of it.
This is in Canada?
I think.
Where did they shoot it?
I can't remember, actually.
You said, where'd you say this part happened?
I don't think I said. Let me check, though. Hang on. Let's see. Halifax, Nova Scotia.
I thought that was,
Yeah. So PCP got into the clam chowder on the set of Titanic one day, and apparently just chaos erupted. And my first time hearing this story, I was just like, we just got that movie Saturday Night, all about Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm.
I want a movie on this.
My question.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot.
Yeah.
Was anyone like medically confirmed to be on PCP?
So let's see. Okay, we had a room full of for grips and electricians. One of the guys started talking really hyper. He's a big guy, like 6'4", and says, "Do you guys feel okay?" Let's see. Bill Paxton was a real sweetie. He was sitting next to me in the hallway of the hospital. They went to the hospital, it looks like. Okay, here we go. Many crew members were sent to Dartmouth General Hospital. Cameron recalled the incident in 2009 interview with Vanity Fair, saying, "People are moaning, crying, wailing, collapsed on tables and gurneys. The DP, Caleb Deschanel, is leading a number of crew down the hall on a highly vocal conga line. You can't make this stuff up," is what he says.
I mean, I do think you can make this stuff up. I'm not saying they did, though. But if it were a drug that I would assume would be on a movie set, I would have less questions.
Yeah.
If it were speed or cocaine, I would be like, oh, wow. But like, how do you get PCP in, you said clam chowder?
It says all hell broke loose August 9th, 1996 on the film set in Halifax, Nova Scotia, when craft services provided clam chowder that happened to be spiked with the drug. Halifax was where Cameron filmed the Titanic framing device scenes featuring Bill Paxton as the leader of an expedition that discovers Rose's necklace. So it was with that side of the production. So it wasn't like on the major ship, but
I just
Variety
PCP.
Covered the story. Yeah.
I mean, Variety, covered it.
CBC covered it. Global News covered it. Business Insider covered it. Let's see. The Guardian.
So apparently there are theories.
Okay.
That I found by using Google, which means, hey, Gemini, you're trying your best. Theories on how it happened: disgruntled crew member or caterer.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is the most widely discussed theory. According to James Cameron, the director, they had fired a crew member the day before the incident who had been causing trouble with the caterers.
That's a hell of a way to get back at him.
I love it's like, well, if he was like a problem crew person, I guess that could be because they were fucking using angel dust.
On August 26, 1996, the Canadian press reported that nearly 80 people were taken to the hospital from the set of Titanic for what was initially thought to be food poisoning. However, the Halifax Regional Police investigated the incident and found that someone had laced the seafood chowder with PCP.
So I'm looking at this. I want to fully understand this because I don't have any interesting anecdotes. My ear is still somewhat painful.
It's okay. I came prepared to talk about this today.
So this theory suggests that the crew members seeking revenge deliberately poisoned the clam chowder as a way to retaliate against the caterers and potentially disrupt production.
Yeah.
However, the fired employee was not seen back on set after their dismissal, making it difficult to understand how they could have accessed the catering kitchen. Another theory is prank gone wrong. PCP was known to be used recreationally, and some speculate that someone intended to create a fun atmosphere but misjudged the dosage and the effects of the drug. However, nobody has ever claimed responsibility for the prank, and no traces of PCP were found on anyone present on the set.
That does sound like a disgruntled. So Vice in 2017 interviewed Marilyn McAvoy, who was a standby painter on set. And she says, the chowder was unbelievable. People were going back for second bowls. I really thought about going back because it was so good. And I think that was part of the problem. People ate a lot more than usual because it was so delicious. There was no indication that there was anything strange happening until the meal. By the time we got back from eating after about 30 minutes, that's when I started noticing something was wrong. Everyone seemed confused. Everyone was having trouble getting their work done. While I was trying to figure out what was going on, everyone else seemed to be going outside. They were all gathering outside of the giant doors of the building we were working on. I also heard later on that as soon as Cameron realized something had been put in the chowder, he ran up to his room and forced himself to throw up.
So there is no evidence that PCP was on the set, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Like, nobody did a drug test or anything.
Yeah.
But then my question becomes, who said we're on PCP?
Well, I'm seeing a newspaper clipping that says Titanic mystery, who spiked the chowder, from 1998 newspaper. Some disagreement exists over the exact number of people who were sickened on the type of chowder that was laced with PCP. So, yeah, it doesn't say in regards to anything of confirmation of PCP. I'm on Snopes right now, by the way.
I'm just curious because, like, what made them decide that it was PCP?
I do not know.
One big thing the police pointed out was PCP was not common in that part of Canada, but is very common in Hollywood. But I mean, I don't ever hear people. I mean, I know PCP can cause euphoria, calmness, lethargy, hallucinations, agitation. It must be fun because some people take it for fun, but
doesn't sound like this is a very fun thing.
No. Yeah, I'm just curious because, like, if somebody got it in their head that they had been poisoned with PCP, it could have been some kind of a mass hysteria.
All I'm saying is whoever works at Netflix, Hulu, and is listening to this podcast right now, you've got a great movie here that you call Abandoned Ship, the story of the Titanic PCP incident or something along those lines, because this is a story that needs to be told through film. Just saying.
See, I'm reading an interview with Cameron. He said, we have a pretty strong suspicion of who it was, although it was never proven.
Confirmed.
We believe the story is that somebody who had a beef with the caterers because the first thing we did was fire the caterers. And, you know, sure enough, we had some leads on that. Of course, the operating theory was that I was such a psychomaniac that the perpetrator was trying to get back at me, but I reject that theory out of hand for obvious reasons.
They officially closed the case on February 12th of 99, though a 10-page report that included redacted statements was assembled. No suspects were identified by the Halifax Police Department. Decades later, however, the incident resurfaced thanks to the efforts of Trisha Ralph.
Yeah, this is a fascinating, bizarre concept that they were drugged with PCP of all things.
Yeah.
I just would expect, and just about any other drug.
Yeah, that's what I would think too. That's why when I saw Paxton's interview for the first time, I was like, holy shit. Like I was just shocked that this only came into my eardrums in the last, I don't know, month, I think is when I found this out.
I can't lie. I'm surprised. Is it even on the Wikipedia?
I do not know.
Or like the IMDb trivia page?
Yeah, probably on the trivia. I don't know about Wikipedia. Let me check though. No, I'm curious. Let's see.
I think it's PCP.
Pre-productions.
Because like that's a hell of a way to poison people. Because I mean, I've heard bad clams can do awful things to you.
So it doesn't have a content section for like incident or anything like that I'm seeing.
Yeah, this is a strange one. Let's see, trivia.
Checking other media. Legacy. Yeah, it's not on the official Titanic page.
That's so strange, man.
But I mean, we're talking the article, like I said, dated back in like 2017. So I mean, they've been talking about this for a bit.
It's not on the Titanic IMDb trivia either.
I'm shocked at that.
What effects can bad clams cause on those who eat them?
The most recent article that I can find is Vulture's article from 2022.
Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal cramps. In severe cases, it can cause more serious issues.
And Collider just did one last year. So yeah, it looks like the story's coming back.
Well, yeah, it's fascinating.
Oh yeah, it is.
I was just trying to see if there was any like possibility you could have like hallucinations. Because that's
entirely possible, I would think. But
I don't know. It's just interesting to me that I can't find any evidence that somebody was tested and they were like, you have PCP.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, then where did the idea that it was PCP come from?
I mean, that's all it says in all the stories too. So yeah, it's definitely the drug.
Oh, I mean, this is, there's literally an illness called hallucinatory fish poisoning.
That doesn't surprise me.
Where in some cases, people who eat shellfish, if it's not the right shellfish, can cause hallucinations, dizziness, vomiting, weakness. I don't know. Cause I just, it's just such an odd, why would somebody dump PCP in?
I mean, if they took 80 people to Dartmouth, you would think they would have tested for something. If they could have at that point, I guess.
Although they may have been like, why bother? Because it's, like we're treating the symptoms already.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just made me wonder if like maybe everybody kind of unintentionally decided it was much more interesting that they'd been poisoned. And, if the caterers were like, oh, somebody must have messed with the clam chowder. It's like, I mean, nobody tested the clam chowder.
Are there any other stories that you can think of, like set poisonings like to this level? Because like this is the only one that I can recall.
I mean, I've heard of like, without any example, like specific examples, I've heard of, like people getting, LSD unexpectedly on like smaller movies.
Have you heard the one about, I think it was on the set of Twins, that DeVito gave Schwarzenegger a cigar that was filled with marijuana?
No.
That happened.
Did Arnold die?
No, he just got very high.
Okay.
I'm just telling you.
I know. No. But all I'm saying is, if you were given a legitimate cigar,
you could smell it.
Arnold, well, or at the very least, your first puff, you would be like, what on earth? Because here's the reason I think that sounds like bunk. Okay.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. I'm just talking based on the basics. Arnold is a cigarman. He is a aficionado of smoking premium hand-rolled
Shared
cigars.
the story on the Rich Eisen show.
Who did Arnold?
Mm-hmm.
Because number one, you don't inhale cigars. So, I mean, you would probably eventually if you puffed and puffed and puffed, but tobacco doesn't smell like marijuana at all.
No, it does not.
And considering Arnold smoked some of the most expensive cigars on earth in his life, you'd think he'd take one puff and be like, what is wrong with this? Did your cat piss on your humidor?
Well, and to add to that, the reason I know that story is because Schwarzenegger on the set of the Twins sequel gave DeVito a cigar that was full of marijuana, and you see the video of it. DeVito smells it right away and knows.
So weird. It just sounds like a joke. Like it does. I mean, it doesn't sound because why would you smoke a cigar that smelled like marijuana after you lit it?
DeVito, while filming the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger, reportedly put marijuana in Schwarzenegger's cigar without him knowing. As a result, Schwarzenegger allegedly got very high and had trouble remembering his lines during filming. DeVito described Schwarzenegger as being off the charts due to the marijuana. Years later, Schwarzenegger tried to prank DeVito by giving him a cigar with marijuana in it, but DeVito apparently smelled it out, which you can see on the video.
Well, according to this, it was laced, is what they're saying, which I don't even know how you would lace a premium cigar. But also Arnold was, at least in his younger years, he was a very pro marijuana guy. I mean, he smokes weed in Pumping Iron.
Pumping Iron, yeah.
And says that it was like his thing that really helped him relax after, training really hard. And also I think he also claimed it helped his appetite because he had to eat like crazy to maintain that kind of bulk.
Curious when that story came about.
So yeah, that's just a very strange thing. I just don't know how you would fall for it. And then for DeVito to get a cigar and smell it and immediately go, there's marijuana in there. Arnold should have been able to smell the same thing, I would think. I don't know. The other problem is these are people who lie for a living.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing. But it's one of those things that it's just like, when I saw that video and he smelled it out immediately, that was like my major thing. I was just like, how could he not smell it? Because I mean, like, it has a very distinct smell to it.
Yeah, it would ruin the cigar.
Yeah.
It would ruin the experience you get. Plus, if you're not inhaling, but it's only like a trace amount, then I feel like it wouldn't have that big of an effect, I would assume.
I would think.
But I don't know. That one just sounds, because it's also kind of silly.
Yeah.
That one sounds more like it could be just kind of like something, or DeVito obtained a cigar laced with marijuana, like to be nice to Schwarzenegger.
Could be.
And then Schwarzenegger, like, because it caused him problems on the set, they kind of turned it into like this, haha, it was like a ribbing thing because Arnold didn't want to look silly. What? I
forgot about I found another poisoning that I forgot about. You know, there's a huge food poisoning on Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised that there would be food poisoning on some of these movies because, you know, catering, they're human.
Mm-hmm.
They have to make a lot of food for a lot of people, and sometimes in really inopportune places, be out in the desert or what have you. So I don't know. It just sounds a little too. The PCP one, I just don't know why everybody's saying PCP. It doesn't sound like it was confirmed.
And everyone's saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one, I don't know. But who knows? It could be that like one of the crew people was like, I've done a bunch of PCP and this is PCP. And then they didn't want to like out their grip as saying like that he was a, you know, an angel dust head. I don't know.
Could be.
And in that time in the 90s, angel dust was a lot more popular than it is now.
Okay, I just found an article, top 12 from food poisoning accidental on movies. I'm not going to read it now, but I'll read that later.
Oh.
But that looks like Predator was even one of them, too.
Well, they were.
And Dev Patel on The Green Knight.
I mean, at least something interesting happened on that movie.
I was waiting for you. You alley-ooped that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I got you. No, that's a weird one. I don't know. Sometimes I hear set stories that just don't make logical sense. Like last week when we were talking about Carrie, and they said that they did this very dangerous stunt with the actual actress and that it hadn't been tested. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like it was a smaller movie, but it wasn't a no budget movie.
Yeah.
They had stunt coordinators and stuff. I think that sometimes it's a miscommunication.
I would say so.
Like she probably told somebody like it was untested, as in she wasn't
the one to go into
like
it.
she watched other people do it, but when they rolled camera, it was the first time she'd done it.
Yeah.
And I'd believe that.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. It's funny because you hear these stories sometimes and they just don't quite add up in the real world.
Yeah.
But see, the reason with the marijuana cigar thing is because as a cigar smoker, and I've been one now, it's startling because it still feels somewhat new.
It does still. But
it's been like almost 6 years since I started smoking cigars somewhat seriously.
I remember it was right before like COVID. We both kind of, you got into it first, obviously, but we both kind of got back into it right before COVID because one of the things I asked you was to send me links so I could buy my own stuff. Yeah.
Well, you had a casual relationship with cigars. You'd smoke a few good ones, a few cheap ones, whatever. And you'd had your major mistakes and made whatever. No, but I mean, I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm just saying like,
that's part of it.
Yeah. Well, because the big dichotomy between us would be that I had never had a cigarette. I had never had marijuana. I'd never had any of those things. Mm-hmm. So when I go to puff a cigar, I'm like, how do I smoke this?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you hold the smoke in your mouth. You don't inhale. So I'd be like, cool. Cause I really don't want to inhale smoke. That's actually what got me to smoke my first cigar was when I found out you don't inhale it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that sounds okay.
Well, because I still remember the first one you and I smoked together was Deep Rising because we had finished what production? Was it Boggy?
That was Boggy
Yeah,
Creek.
It was Boggy. Yeah. Yeah, we finished Boggy and we got cigars and watched Deep Rising. Which
I wonder what those cigars were. I think they were Romeo y Juliet.
They had to be Romeo Juliet.
They were Churchill size.
They were Churchill
I remember
size,
that because you went and got big ones.
I got them. Yeah, and I got them right around
smoke
the
shot
corner.
down the block.
Yeah.
So having smoked cigars for a while now, and I got it became my main hobby. Hearing the like, oh, it was a cigar, but it actually had marijuana and they got all high. That just sounds like something somebody who doesn't know anything about cigars would say.
Mm-hmm.
Because to some people, it's just a really big cigarette. That's what they think it is.
Kind of like that guy that tried to brag at my birthday party that one time about smoking Cubans, and then you had to put his ass under the table.
You were being nice,
but he couldn't stop.
Well, he was full of crap.
He was totally full of crap.
Well, and he was like, I really like cigars. Yeah, I've had these Cubans. Then he told like some weird story about like
smoking him on the beach of Cuba or something like that.
No, it was like the Caribbean or something. He was on vacation.
Yeah.
But he was talking about like the guy at the shop was like, oh no, you can't use a cutter, use a punch. And I'm like, first of all, that doesn't make any sense because like everybody uses cutters, and in Cuba they usually cut them with their thumbnail or their teeth.
Just been trolling Americans too.
Oh, no, there's totally part. I mean, I guarantee whatever he smoked there was an actual Cuban cigar. I would pretty much guarantee it because it's really bad in the Caribbean Like there are tricks that you're supposed to do. Like you're supposed to look for the sticker for the import and shit like that. And they don't recommend buying individuals. And if you do buy, you want to buy from like a real place, not like a guy with a little shop. But those are the places that'll like pull you in and be like, you want a Cuban cigar? You want a Cuban cigar? So I don't know. It just reeks of like, I have questions and I can't find any answers. Now the PCP thing, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, really, like, who knows? It just seems so odd. Like, of all the things you could poison the set with,
that is an odd one,
like,
especially if it's not native to the place.
Well, or if it would be hard to get. I mean, unless you were just a PCP user, which could have led to why that person got fired.
Yeah.
But even then, like, would you give up that? That's a lot of PCP.
That's a lot of PCP.
To make people that sick when they're eating chowder?
Oh, I mean, people put, edibles and candies all the time. They're going to give away their edibles for trick or treat every year.
I mean, in the rich areas, maybe. but that's why it strikes me as a little odd that it's so specific, even though there's no details other than that everybody was poisoned. Yeah, for sure.
But every single story says PCP, so it had to come from somewhere.
I mean, I think it came in part from the fact that makes it a much more interesting story.
It does,
because they could have just had like the worst food poisoning ever.
Entirely
They're
possible.
eating food that's probably not normal to them.
See, for them to come up to them on set though and be like, the soup's been drugged with something. I feel like something was said, but just never actually confirmed.
It just makes me, you might be right.
Yeah.
Because it just makes me wonder, like, why PCP? Why not, Valium or Xanax or something that people just get.
Well, I mean, they also beat Gaspar Noé's film Climax to the story, about 20 years ahead of its time.
That's funny.
They did.
Well said. No, that's fair. No, it's just an odd story, but it's fascinating.
Oh yeah.
I have no doubt that everybody got very, very ill.
I just want a movie. I don't know why when I heard that story, I just wanted to see like the guy that did a stupid and futile gesture. Like I would love for somebody like that to get in the realm of this story and give us like a Netflix Hulu original or something.
I could see that. There was also something else I wanted to mention real quick, and then we'll get to our movie.
Mm-hmm.
Can eating shellfish make you hallucinate?
Pretty sure it can.
No, I accidentally closed that page because it said something that was really interesting about hallucinating from eating shellfish, because it called one of the versions was like HCP or something, which made me wonder if maybe there was a breakdown in communication.
It could have been, yeah.
Because I could have sworn there's something that said like CP, like something CP. So I'm just like, I don't know. So not quite, but neurotoxic shellfish poisoning is called NSP. Diuretic shellfish poisoning is called DSP, and paralytic shellfish poisoning is called PSP. So part of me is wondering if like somebody told them,
or a typo. Somebody couldn't read their handwriting.
Well, or they were like, I don't know how many people are French out in Nova Scotia, but I don't know. It's a weird thing. But it's much more interesting than we ate a bunch of bad clams.
There's that. Yeah. I will give you that.
But regardless of all of that, let's talk about something more wholesome,
more sane.
Yeah. But I do want to real quick celebrate, man. Final Destination Bloodlines, kicking ass, taking names. I'm really happy to hear that. I love seeing all the love about Tony Todd's final role in it. I love everything about it. It's gotten me to revisit the other Final Destination movies as well.
Did you see the fun trivia that came out over the weekend about it? The kid or the guy that stole the movie, basically, that had all the piercings. And
he was in
Trick or Treat
as the kid in the vampire
mask on the school bus. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, it is.
It's funny how that works out.
It is.
So no, I really enjoyed Bloodlines, and I rewatched Final Destination 2 last night. Mm-hmm. Really enjoyed it.
2's good.
I'm gonna revisit 3 and 4 and 5 over the next week or so, maybe.
Hell yeah.
Because I've been really bad about fatigue on like deciding what to watch. Mm-hmm. So last night I was skimming through everything, like I do when I don't know what to watch and I don't want to commit. That's the worst part. Is like I'll be like, oh, I want to watch this new Blu-ray I got. And I'm like, but that's going to take like an hour and a half and I really want to watch it. And then I'm like, oh, well, then I'll look for other stuff. And then I'll spend 25 minutes looking for something else and be like, you could have just put it in.
I literally put on BoJack Horseman last night only for it to get to the intro and me to be like, I'm not feeling it. Then I went to like Hulu, got on Bob's Burgers a little bit, same thing. And then I finally just ended up watching YouTube.
I mean, that's the last bastion of hope of entertainment.
I've been watching PS2 games that I used to play as a kid. Like a lot of the Bond ones, like complete walkthroughs or like playthroughs of those. That's been my go-to.
Thinking about your mortality.
My
huh?
mortality.
Hey man, I think I'm doing great considering I'm still dealing with this ear infection. It's
doing
way
a lot better. You're doing a lot better.
Well, I was whacked out on pain medicine last show, and it's obvious to me anyway. I don't nobody said anything yet, but it just came
one of
out.
our best episodes, I'd say.
I felt it. I mean, I was watching, and the best part was, David, you guys probably have noticed, not a good guy. No, but you have a very bassy voice. You have a bass forward voice. And on the show, often you talk very loud.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, one of the reasons I wear headphones when we do the show, usually I can't wear my
earbuds.
I can't wear them right now. It'll make things worse.
Yeah.
So I'm not, but it was because I noticed you were actually quieter. Like it was cutting down a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially on those days, like when we were doing Freddy's back in the day, when we were doing our old show, those days where I wasn't feeling very good, I'd be like, my God, David's loud. And I would just like, I'd turn my headphones down. Not your fault. You're just talking.
Yeah.
But last week, because my ear hurt, the thing I was trying to do the most was not wince when you first started talking about something.
Yeah.
And toward the end of the show,
it's heavy.
Well, I was hurting even more.
Yeah.
So no, there were like a few times I was when I was going through to pick clips for TikTok and stuff where you'd be like, and I could see me go, because I was like, the last thing I need is to make everybody think I hate Dave more.
My favorite thing is if anybody hasn't watched last week's episode yet, go to the portion where I introduced Stephen King and watch Hen's eyes almost bug out of his head when I talk super fast and super loud real quick.
I've never heard you talk that fast in my entire life.
Because I had a lot of titles to get through.
Yeah, you did. So, but regardless of all of that,
yes,
David brought me a movie for our final episode on May They Rest in Peace.
May they rest in peace. Yep.
And I had never seen this movie. I had never seen a clip from this movie. I probably heard you quote it once or twice, but I didn't know what you were referring to.
Guarantee it.
And I will say to 2010's MacGruber that every time I saw the cover, I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's a bad cover.
Yeah. And nothing against the movie. It's just the cover. Yeah, the cover looks silly. It's just Will Forte before he was really, really like beloved the way he is now. And he earned it. I mean, rightfully so beloved. Before he was beloved, he's just got the silly wig on. It's got that over glossy comedy poster
and
thing
fire
going.
Explosion.
And it said Saturday Night Live on it. That's a lot working against you.
It is, unfortunately.
We were talking about earlier how SNL movies, there are so many of them and they're so quickly forgotten, but there are some that became just absolute classics.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and forgotten titles would probably include movies such as Superstar, It's Pat the Movie, The Ladies' Man movie, Stuart Saves His Family. Let's see, what's the other one? Night at the Roxbury, still pretty loved. Blues Brothers, still pretty loved. Yeah, I think those are really the mains.
Well, and a lot of the ones that are really huge, people forget their SNL movies. Like, not Wayne's World so much, but Blues Brothers.
Yep.
I always forget that's an SNL movie, and the first one, technically. But yeah, then you end up with movies like Wayne's World and Coneheads, which are just like truly incredible films.
Oh, Wayne's World past episode.
I mean, I love Wayne's World and Wayne's World too. They were both great.
Yeah.
But Coneheads is one that I still think like, wow. Actually, you know what's funny though is as I say like what the classics were, I'm looking at a list by release date. It's just the first 4. And then everything else is like, it's Pat, Stuart Saves His Family, Blues Brother 2000, Night at the Roxbury, Superstar, The Ladies' Man, and MacGruber.
I remember Ladies' Man. You could not escape that movie on Comedy Central back in the day. They played that incessantly.
Oh, I managed to. But no, so nothing against MacGruber.
Yeah.
But it just really looked like the kind of movie I would skip.
I get that.
So I did. Now, as time went on, as like I said, as Will Forte became very beloved because he's a very funny actor and a very talented actor, I got curious and you would always talk about it.
I brought it over for movie nights several times.
Yeah, and I was like, nah. So you decided to put it on here because we're celebrating the life and career of Val Kilmer, who plays the bad guy in MacGruber.
Yes, he does.
Does a great job. Probably one of the last movies where he was like full steam, before he got sick and stuff like that. So An interesting choice for a interesting movie.
It is. I mean, I'll go ahead and say at the top of us discussing the actual film that it was between this and Batman Forever, and the only reason that I backed out of Batman Forever is because I didn't want that A, to be the first Batman movie on this show, but B, he had such a terrible time making that movie that it just kind of felt wrong to pick that as the movie to honor him with.
Yeah, I figured you didn't want to do Batman Forever because you would inevitably put it on the show anyway.
Oh,
so you were like, we're going to get to it anyway, so we don't need an excuse. There were several movies that we were going to do, and it was like, we don't need an excuse to talk about those movies. Yeah. I mean, we didn't really need an excuse to talk about Carrie, but it fit well.
Yeah, I mean, Carrie was a listener's request, too.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So with that all being said, Dave, do you want to give the rundown of tonight's film?
All right. So we are talking about MacGruber from 2010, 1 hour and 30 minutes, rated R for strong, crude, and sexual content, violence, language, and some nudity. IMDb synopsis says, former special operative MacGruber is called back into action to take down his archenemy, Dieter Von Cunth, who is in possession of a nuclear warhead and bent on destroying Washington, D.C.
And that's Cunth.
Cunth. My synopsis: when his archenemy Dieter Von Cunth steals a nuclear warhead, former special ops agent MacGruber must come out of hiding and form a team to stop him. Now,
pretty solid.
There is only one tagline and one tagline only, and
it only needs one.
Pretty perfect.
Okay.
The ultimate tool.
Yeah, that's solid. No, that's perfect. I mean,
like you're done.
MacGruber is, without a doubt, the guy is the ultimate tool.
Currently available to rent through Prime and Fandango, not streaming anywhere, even though Peacock has the original series, which still kind of baffles me. They don't have the movie, but maybe they did at one point.
Strange choice. Yeah,
they might have had it when it first premiered. I mean, we're talking about a series that came out in 2021.
Well, it was also, I could tell you why. That's a Universal movie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was made by Rogue Pictures, Relativity Media, Michaels Goldwyn, their team up, but it was distributed by Universal. So that's probably why it's not on there.
So our director and one of the writers on the film is Jorma Taccone. He gets his start as the Lonely Island Just Two Guys music video, to which he then gets a job at SNL in 2005, creates Awesome Town, goes on to direct and write I'm on a Boat, MacGruber in 2010, Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping in 2016.
That just hit Netflix again.
Yeah. MacGruber TV series in 2021. And he's also the director of the MacGruber Pepsi Zero commercials, as well as an episode of Knuckles, the new Sonic show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And is it, we should mention, I mean, we kind of said it, but MacGruber was an SNL skit, which was after my time watching SNL. So I never saw a single MacGruber skit.
Yeah. They were anywhere between 30 seconds to like 90 seconds long, basically. And they were little pop-ups on SNL at first. And it was basically MacGruber trying to defuse a bomb, but failing every time because he would always ask for something really gross. Like the first episode, he asked for a dog turd and none of his team will pick it up. So that's why the bomb goes off. So basically the basis of MacGruber was a MacGyver knockoff that was terrible at defusing bombs, and that was the joke. It became a thing on SNL just by them pitching it, and then Will Forte finally agreed to do it. And then it became a big hit on SNL to the point that Lorne Michaels went to Pepsi Zero because they were doing a new brand of Pepsi Zero Sugar. And he was like, what do you think about doing MacGruber? And they were like, we're not really into it. And he's like, what if I pay some of it? And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. And then they ended up being a Super Bowl commercial that made buku. And then that's when Lorne was like, what if we did a movie?
I still can't believe that in the 2000s, they were doing a MacGyver parody.
Mm-hmm.
The original MacGyver series, I just looked it up. Do you want to guess when it ended?
It's 87, right?
No, that's around when it started.
That's when it started.
No,
okay.
It ran for a long time.
94?
92.
92. So I was born.
So
okay.
It was off. There wasn't a new episode for over 10 years.
Yeah.
It was very popular in syndication, so I'll give it that. But by 2010, it's like, really?
I mean, it's the famous why now?
Why now? Yeah. and that's the thing that fascinates me. That's the other part is when MacGruber came out. I grew up when MacGyver was always on.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was a parody of MacGyver. And then when I had the thought, I was like, now why would they do that? That was literally my thought.
Yeah, and it happened out in the living room a little bit ago too.
For those who don't know what MacGyver is, it was a TV series from 1986 to 1992, and it was shot in Canada, Canadian show, I was right.
Yeah.
It was a TV series starring Richard Dean Anderson as MacGyver. This I'm not even going to look up. I'm just going to go off my memory. He plays like some kind of a law enforcement guy.
He was also MacGruber's dad. I forgot about that in one of the sketches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
so
funny.
they kind of did that. They did kind of do a thing with that. So,
but he was just this cop with a mullet, basically. And his big thing was that every week he would improvise a tool or a weapon or whatever to solve the problem going on, to the point where it became a verb. I MacGyvered a blank.
Yeah.
MacGyvered
that shit.
Yeah. I checked into my hotel room and the remote control's batteries were dead. So I MacGyvered some batteries from stuff in my bag so I could keep watching TV, that kind of thing. So it was massively in the nomenclature. It was massively in the culture. So I guess I could see why it still seems
it's like a reach.
It seems like an odd choice.
It's an odd choice. It's a reach.
But when you mentioned that it was like a 60-second quick gag, that makes me think like, okay, I can see why they took a chance with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, clearly, I hate to spoil it, but I couldn't help but see the box office. People must have really loved it because they did not go see it.
We'll get into that. So the other writer on it is John Solomon. He gets his start on SNL in 2006 as a writer, goes on to write Extreme Movie in 2008, MacGruber in 2010, The Women of SNL in 2010, Last Man on Earth, which he is a director of in 2015.
Oh, yeah, because I love that show. At least the first 2 or 3 seasons I watched, I really loved it. And that was where I first realized Will Forte was hilarious.
Oh, yeah. He also writes for the 2018 MTV Movie Awards, 70th Primetime Emmy Awards, 2019 Golden Globes, AP Bio, Bless the Hearts, MacGruber TV series, which he directs in 2021. I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson in 2023. So the man's got his shtick in comedy.
And he made Extreme Movie, you said.
Yeah, I love Extreme Movie.
Yeah, I could see a lot of influence.
Yeah, a little bit. Other writer is Will Forte, who we'll get into in a second when we get to the cast. But the cinematographer, buckle the fuck up.
I will.
Brandon Trost is the cinematographer on this.
That name sounds really familiar.
Gets his start in 2004, shooting a little film called Lightning Bug.
I remember Lightning Bug.
Then goes on to do Demon Slayer in 04 as well. The Salon in 05, shoots Fangoria Blood Drive in 05, Static X Destroyer video, He Was a Quiet Man, Broken Glass, In This Moment music video for Beautiful Tragedy, Pulse 2 Afterlife in 2008, Pulse 3 in 2008, Presence in 2008, Weather Girl 2009. 2009, he also shoots Crank High Voltage.
Oh, okay.
Goes on to shoot Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 in 2009. Follows that up with MacGruber in 2010, Mad World in 2010. Get Coached was a series of coaching videos that featured Sean Payton, Mike Ditka, Bobby Bowden. Then shoots Rob Zombie's Sick Bubblegum video in 2010. Rob Zombie's Mars Needs Women video in 2010. The FP in 2011. Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance in 2011.
Okay.
Goes on to shoot That's My Boy, followed by Lords of Salem in 2012. Dark Wall, This Is the End in 2013. Followed by That Awkward Moment in 2014.
I love that movie.
Followed by Neighbors in 2014.
I like Neighbors quite a bit too.
Followed by Diary of a Teenage Girl in 2015. Then follows that up with Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse in 2015.
I saw that movie.
Shoots, The Night Before in 2015. Neighbors 2 Sorority Rising in 2016. Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping in 2016. Foo Fighters video for Run. The Disaster Artist in 2017.
Wow.
Future Man in 2017. Episodes of Barry in 2018. Can You Ever Forgive Me in 2018. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile in 2019. Episodes of The Righteous Gemstones in 2019. Dear Evan Hansen in 2021. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in 2022. Bros in 2022.
Oh, yeah.
Knuckles in 2024. Night Bitch in 2024. Sonic 3 in 2024. And coming soon, The Naked Gun in 2025 and Coyote vs. Acme in 2026.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He's got a very aside from all the Rob Zombie stuff, a pretty obvious trajectory. I was shocked he didn't shoot the monsters.
I was kind of shocked too, but I will say too, Lords of Salem is one of his most visual films, and I mean that cinematography in that alone is worth a watch. The movie is wild, but the cinematography in that movie is worth a watch if you have not seen Lords of Salem. I still think it's one of Zombie's, if not his best movie.
I should get around to watching it.
You really should.
I mean, I've seen the greatest hits. I saw the Munsters.
31.
Did I see 31?
You haven't seen 31.
Okay, I was gonna say.
I actually like 31. 31 is absolutely Rob Zombie doing what he does, which is just like, hey, here's some killer clowns that do a Hunger Games with these people that break down on their road.
Fair enough. I mean, I saw House of a Thousand Corpses, saw Devil's Rejects, I saw Halloween 1 and 2.
You haven't seen 3 from Hell, have you?
Nope.
Oh, oof.
I think that was it until Munsters.
Munsters, yeah.
That might be
31 I would say is watchable. 3 from Hell has gotten less and less on me with each watch. I think I've seen it 3 times now.
Like you like it less?
I saw it in the roadshow. I actually went to the theater.
That,
I've liked it less and less each time I watched it.
Fair enough.
It's just so Richard Brake is part of the cast.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Wolfman, as they call him, and he's just not good with the Firefly clan.
Fair enough.
I love Richard Brake, but yeah.
He's great.
So moving on to our cast, we have Will Forte, who plays MacGruber in the film, gets his start in 1993 on The Late Show with David Letterman.
Okay.
Goes on to work for SNL in 2002, Clone High, Campus Ladies, Beer Fest in 2006, then appears on Drawn Together, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Flight of the Conchords, The Brothers Solomon in 2007. Remember that movie?
I do.
Yeah. We're the only people.
I hadn't heard that in forever.
Baby Mama in 2008.
Oh, man, that one too.
The Slammin' Salmon in 2009, Fanboys, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Tim and Eric, Awesome Show, Great Job in 07, then goes on to do MacGruber, Squidbellies, How I Met Your Mother, A Good Old-Fashioned Orgy, Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie in 2012, The Immigrant, That's My Boy, Rock of Ages, The Watch, 30 Rock, Conan, The Cleveland Show, Nebraska in 2013.
That's, you know what? I think that is the time I first really noticed him like as being great, because I love that movie.
Nebraska's fantastic. Drunk History in 2013, Grown Ups 2, Comedy Bang Bang, Life of Crime, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, The Lego Movie, Kroll Show, 22 Jump Street, She's Funny That Way, 7 Days in Hell, The League in 2015, The Awesomes, Moonbeam City, Gravity Falls, Keanu, Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping, Futile and Stupid Gesture, The Last Man on Earth in 2018, Future Man, Booksmart, Good Boys, Drunk Bus, which I forgot he's in.
Oh, yeah, he is in Drunk Bus.
Yeah.
Shit, okay.
Followed that up with Scoob, MacGruber, the series in 2021, Late Night with Seth Meyers, Studio 666, The Kids in the Hall.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he is in that one.
Weird. He's probably one of the best parts of that movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
The food delivery guy.
No, he was really funny. I mean, shocking. He was hilarious. Yeah.
Weird. The Al Yankovic Story in 2022, Rick and Morty, I Think You Should Leave, Ruby Gilman, Teenage Kraken, The Strays, That 90s Show, Bob's Burgers, American Dad, The Four Seasons. He is also a writer on MTV Movie Awards, Third Rock from the Sun, That 70s Show, Extreme Movie, MacGruber, Last Man on Earth, and MacGruber TV series.
Yeah, so he writes a lot on the stuff he stars in, especially. Yeah. No, I mean, he's obviously very good.
Oh, he's a force.
But I will say, I thought there'd be a lot more titles that I was like really into that he had done. Not as many as I thought.
You want to know one thing that I've been thinking about the more I've thought about him is I wonder if I confuse him and Hader every now and then.
I do not.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
No, they just are way too different.
Well, they are, but it's just like, I don't know. They run with like the same crowd a little bit.
Well, yeah, they were both Saturday Night Live people.
Yeah. I know that. Yes. Moving down to our cast, we also have Kristen Wiig, who plays Vicky St. Elmo. She gets her start in 2003, and I remember this on the Joe Schmo Show.
I remember that too.
Yeah.
I watched a video about the Joe Schmo Show. That's a great story.
The first season's phenomenal. Well, the first 2 seasons are actually a lot of fun.
Well,
the first one's really wholesome.
The whole idea was to like make fun of this average guy, and everyone loved him.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually like the nicest, most stand-up guy ever.
Genuinely great guy.
Yeah, they tried to like, my favorite moment of that experiment was they did this whole thing where one of the characters is gay, but he doesn't know anybody's a character. He thinks he's on a reality show with real reality people.
It's the guy that plays Rickety Cricket, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
And somebody comes, after him for being gay, and they really try to get Joe Schmo to be on board with like picking on this guy, and he will not.
No, he won't.
He will not. And he's willing to like risk losing this because he thinks he's on a Big Brother show.
Well,
basically,
he gets a cast member to leave because they have such a strong bond that he doesn't want to continue the show. The old man character.
Mm-hmm. And that's the craziest thing, because you could say like, oh well, he just wanted to look good. Well, he wasn't going to win the money.
Yeah.
By being that way.
No.
It's fascinating, and a lot of people say that the production had to completely shift, because originally the concept was to laugh at him.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end, they were like, no, we need to celebrate this guy. We need to say like, he's a wonderful guy, and we're all so glad that we got to be around him and get to know him. That's a fascinating thing.
Really is.
If obviously watching the whole thing is a lot, but
it's worth it.
There are some great documentaries on YouTube about the Joe Schmo Show that really put it into perspective.
Yeah, and she played the doctor on that show.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets her started in 2003 on there. I'm with her. The Drew Carey Show in 2004, June, SNL in 2005. Goes on to do Unaccompanied Minors, Enema with a Stigma, Knocked Up in 2007.
Oh, yeah.
The Brothers Solomon, 2007. Meet Bill, 30 Rock, Walk Hard, Semi-Pro, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Ghost Town, Adventureland, Flight of the Conchords, Extract, Whip It, The Cleveland Show, then does MacGruber in 2010. Goes on to do How to Train Your Dragon, Date Night, Despicable Me, Bored to Death, All Good Things, Paul, Bridesmaids, which she's a writer of in 2011, Friends with Kids, Arrested Development, Drunk History, Hate Ship, Love Ship, Secret Life of Walter Mitty, Her, Anchorman 2, Skeleton Twins in 2014, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Welcome to Me, Nasty Baby, A Deadly Adoption with her and Will Ferrell, the Lifetime original movie.
Yes. I enjoyed that one.
It was fun. Wet Hot American Summer, First Day of Camp in 2015. Masterminds, The Martian, Zoolander 2, Tonight Show with Fallon, Sausage Party, Ghostbusters, Wet Hot American Summer 10 years later in 2017, Downsizing, Mother, Last Man on Earth, Where'd You Go, Bernadette, Wonder Woman 1984, Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar in 2021, which she's the writer of.
That poor movie. I mean, COVID wrecked it, but also... those trailers didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They just didn't show anyone. I had no idea what was going on.
I wanted to watch it, but
you don't want to be the first.
Well, I can't. It's never at the top of my list, but I am curious.
I remember seeing the trailers and going, what is this? And then when I found out all the celebrities that were in, I was like, why wasn't anyone we recognize shown in the trailer? Really weird.
Bless the Hearts in 2021, MacGruber TV series 2021, Big Mouth, Palm Royal, and Despicable Me 4 in 2024.
See, now that I'm not surprised by all those titles. She is a phenomenal supporting actress in just about anything. I mean, she's great in The Martian.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many memorable roles that Kristen Wiig has done, let alone Bridesmaids.
It's like she, like when I was putting that together, I was like, oh yeah. And Martian was a big one. I was like, fuck, she's in The Martian. I forgot about that.
No, she's excellent. She's a very good foil.
Yeah.
Which is funny because she is so hilarious, but she's really good as the straight person.
Yeah.
Like that's, I think, her strongest power. Yeah.
We also have Val Kilmer in the cast, who plays Dieter Von Cunth, who this episode is dedicated to as we were honoring him. He gets to start in 1984 on Top Secret.
Oh, yeah.
Goes on to do Real Genius in 85, Top Gun in 86, The Murders in the Rue Morgue in 86, Willow in 88, Billy the Kid in 89, and Kill Me Again in 89, which I just watched, which is a Southwestern neo-noir by John Dahl, who did Red Rock West.
Oh, wow. And
Kilmer plays a PI. Michael Madsen and the main actress in this, I can't remember her name, Whaley is her last name. They are criminals on the run. She ends up knocking Madsen out at a bathroom, stealing a briefcase of money, goes to Kilmer, who's the PI, and is like, I want you to kill me so he'll stop looking for me. And I'm not going to say any more, but it is one of the like most underrated thrillers that I've seen in a while.
I've noticed that there are a lot of holes in my Kilmer viewing.
Same. That's what that was one. It's currently, as we're recording this episode, it's currently on Prime. I think it's going to be there for like another week according to my Prime app. So that's why I watched it. But yeah, Kill Me Again from 89, cannot recommend enough. Goes from that to do The Doors in 91, Thunderheart in 92, True Romance in 93, Real McCoy in 93, Tombstone in 93, Batman Forever in 95, Heat in 95, Island of Dr. Moreau in 96, followed by Dead Girl, The Ghost in the Darkness, The Saint, The Prince of Egypt, At First Sight, Joe the King, Pollock, Red Planet, Salton Sea in 2002, Hard Cash, Wonderland, The Missing, Blind Horizons, Spartan, Mindhunters, Entourage, Alexander, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in 2005, 10th and Wolf, Moscow Zero, Deja Vu, Comanche Moon, Conspiracy, Columbus Day, Love Guru in 2008.
Hey.
Felon in 2008. Knight Rider, Streets of Blood, The Thaw, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Another classic.
Great one, honestly. Hardwired, Bloodworth, MacGruber in 2010, then goes on to do The Traveler, Gun, Kill the Irishman, Twixt, Seven Below, Breathless, Riddle, Life's Too Short in 2013, which is his appearance on Life's Too Short, the Warwick Davis show. Hilarious, because he plays Val Kilmer as such a schmuck who's trying to get money for Willow too, but it's actually him just scamming Warwick Davis.
That's funny. That's really funny. I like that a lot.
Planes in 2013, Psych, The Snowman, The Super, Firstborn, Jay and Silent Bob reboot in 2019 where he played Blunt Man.
Okay.
Pay Dirt, and then his last film in 2022, Top Gun Maverick.
Which was a really a wonderful
send-off.
A wonderful send-off.
He unfortunately left us April 1st of 2025 at age 65 from pneumonia is what the actual cause is dated to. He also did have a long battle with cancer, which is why he lost his speaking ability.
Well, and that's what made him succumb to pneumonia was he was very, very ill.
Yes. But yeah, his resume there, a lot of good movies there, a lot of questionable movies, but still I've never seen a bad performance from him, I will say.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So moving on to our cast and wrapping us up, we also have the late, great Powers Boothe with us, who plays Colonel Faith in this. He gets his start in 1977 with The Goodbye Girl, goes on to be in Cruising in 80, Skag, The Plutonium Incident, Southern Comfort in 81, A Breed Apart, Red Dawn in 84.
Yeah.
The Emerald Forest, Philip Marlowe Private Eye TV series in 83, Extreme Prejudice, Into the Homeland, Stalingrad, By Dawn's Early Light, Rapid Fire in 92.
Hell yeah.
Wild Card, Marked for Murder, Tombstone in 93, Web of Deception, Blue Sky, Mutant Species, Sudden Death, future episode in 95. Nixon.
Fucking movie.
I love that
That's
movie.
A great movie.
Nixon in 95, True Woman. Con Air in 97. He's the voice at the very beginning that tells Nicolas Cage that he's graduated the Marines. I didn't know that until today. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's epic.
Yeah, but it's totally him. Because I pulled it up and I was like, that's absolutely
very
him.
recognizable voice, without a doubt.
Yeah. U-Turn in 97. Joan of Arc, A Crime of Passion, Men of Honor, Frailty in 2001.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's a great film.
Second Nature, Sin City, Justice League Unlimited, Deadwood, The Final Season, MacGruber in 2010, The Avengers, Hatfield and McCoy's, Guns, Girls, and Gambling in 2012, Straight A's, Nashville, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, Moonbeam City, and Last Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in 2013. He unfortunately left us May 14th of 2017 from pancreatic cancer at age 68.
Man. Yeah, that's a unbelievable career.
Oh, yeah. Powers Boothe is that guy that if you've ever wanted either a villain or just an actual like really good second, Powers Boothe is a guy you call on.
No, he's he's got gravitas. It's why he fit very well into this movie.
Yeah.
By not fitting.
Yeah. That's fair. First time watching. What was it?
I remember it like it was yesterday. It was about an hour and a half ago.
So my first time watching MacGruber, I don't believe I had seen any of the SNL skits. I don't think I'd seen any of them, but I had seen the commercials. I'd seen the Pepsi commercial. I'd seen the Super Bowl one specifically, to the point where I remember I was in my Latin class and this kid named Alan, we were talking about MacGruber because we knew the movie was coming and we both were like, what the hell is it going to be? So I actually went opening night premiere of this movie on May of 2010. And it was me, Xander, and a couple other of my buds. And we went into this movie really not knowing anything. Like, it was going to be an R-rated comedy. None of the commercials could reflect that, so you just didn't know what to expect.
Sure.
By the first 20 minutes in, I was laughing so much that I hurt because it had just spiraled out of control to what no one could have predicted this movie would be like. Fair enough. I would have to say it would be weird if you were like, that was exactly what I expected. I would be like, you're not well. But it was just everything in this movie worked for my sense of humor at that time and still does today, obviously, as well. And this is legitimately like a comfort movie I put on. Like 10 days after Kilmer had passed, I put this on to commemorate him, but also I was like feeling down. And this movie like always cheers me up because it's so batshit.
It's a nutsy movie, and the choices it makes are very, very interesting.
Oh yeah, I would say so. So you ready to get into it?
Why the hell not?
So we start in eastern Siberia as we are coming over a desert convoy that has been completely wiped out. There's bullet holes, there's bodies, we're seeing blood, and we're seeing these guys walk up that have definitely just done the wet work.
Right.
And that is when we meet Dieter Von Cunth, who comes up in his convoy and gets out, and we see that he's basically stealing a nuclear warhead. And a guy asks him in Russian not to do it, and the first thing that we get words from him are, sorry, I don't speak Russian, and he kills the guy.
It's a solid reveal, and it feels, that scene in particular feels very like a legitimate mid-tier action movie of that time period.
Oh, yeah.
Like massively, a lot does in this movie, but especially that opening.
Yeah, the opening sets up that we have our villain and that this is going to be a spoof on an action movie, but we don't really know it's a spoof yet unless
Well, we
paid
find out
our ticket.
find out very quickly when the opening credits start. Though.
Yes, because the opening credits, as you pointed out, are basically MacGruber doing all the things that we learned from MacGruber to do, which is putting things together from rare items he has. He's also playing the saxophone at one point. And also, we don't know by this point, and I'll just spoil it here because it's not a spoiler at all, he's supposed to be dead. And this whole montage we're seeing of him is like an opening credits to a TV show almost.
Yeah. It's just a montage of him doing like epic things that are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like he's like doing blacksmithing, but it reveals that he was making a push pin.
Yeah.
Push-pin.
And not to mention that we also get the MacGruber theme while this is going on.
Oh, yeah.
And people are singing his name and everything. But my favorite line in it is MacGruber, we made a fucking movie, MacGruber.
I mean, they're right.
Yes, they are right. Because we meet Colonel Jim Faith and Lieutenant Dixon Piper, and they are searching for the Green Berets that were supposed to be protecting the warhead. They've been wiped out, obviously. And that's when he realizes they've got to call in their one and only weapon that can fight Dieter Von Cunth.
And apparently for 10 years, everyone believes MacGruber is dead.
Yes, he's been hiding out in this village. He's is found while he's meditating in a chapel, and the way that they reveal that he knows that they're there is they walk in, a candle blows out, and he's like, "Good to see you again, Colonel." And we're seeing him from the back, and he's got a huge hair of head at this point.
A hair of head.
A head of hair, Jesus.
Yeah, and he does a like backflip, super ridiculous backflip thing. And basically they say the guy who we know killed your wife is back, and we need you to bring him down, which again, very 90s, early 90s action movie plot.
Yeah. But he refuses because he's changed his life now. He loves his village and then gets robbed by the kids in the village, which I love.
Yeah.
He's like, they respect me here. Up yours, MacGruber.
Yeah, they hate him. And as the movie goes on, you realize
they're not wrong.
No, he deserves pretty much all the malignment he gets.
Yeah. So he does not want to do it at first, so he ends up telling them no, and that he's left that life behind, and now he's in this peaceful village. So they leave him. And then that night, he has a flashback dream about what happened. And we see that him and his wife, Casey, are getting married. And the priest flips through his Bible, and there's a bomb in one of them carved out in it. And we flash over to Dieter Von Cunth, who you pointed out also says, "Fuck you."
Yeah, he literally just says, "Fuck you, MacGruber." And then he blows the switch, and they just explode.
My favorite is they're standing there like it's like 3-4 seconds after you see what's gonna happen, and they're just standing there like reaching out like no.
Yeah,
and fire just engulfs them.
And then MacGruber wakes up in a cold sweat.
Yep.
And there's a photo of Cunth on the wall across from where
him.
he sleeps. So he wakes up and immediately looks at a picture of Cunth.
A mugshot. Like it's not a flattering picture either.
Oh, you look good.
I thought you looked good. But then we go to your favorite scene, which is he goes to his grave in his cemetery next to his wife. That is raining, torrential rainstorm going on.
Yeah, it's massive pouring rain.
Digs up a coffin, pulls out his MacGruber outfit, which is completely laid out in the coffin, and gets dressed completely in the rain.
And this scene killed me because it was just the fact that everything was soaking wet.
Yeah.
So he's like getting dressed and it's all sopping wet. He gets his car keys, which have, of course, a Lucky Rabbit's foot on it, sopping wet. Like, I just thought that was a really funny way to set everything up. And also one of a good half dozen times we see Will Forte's ass.
Yeah, we see his ass a lot in this movie.
A ton
indeed.
And even more, they talk about his ass.
They do talk about his ass. So he goes into the headquarters of the Pentagon. One of my favorite jokes. He goes in, "I'm in," and then it just reveals he's in a cafeteria.
Yeah, they're like, "What?" And then he opens another door. "I'm in," and then it's in the right
room.
Yeah. Very, very funny guy.
Yeah, so that's when Colonel Faith is telling him it's Cunth. They've got a plan for it, and he needs to put a team together, and that he's also volunteered Piper to be a part of the team because he's a great soldier. That ends up getting Piper punched in the face because he mouths off to MacGruber.
Yeah,
yeah, of course.
Him. Well, Piper's like being the least shitty.
Yeah, played by Ryan Felipe. Felipe, thank you.
And he's not being a dick at all. He's just kind of like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And MacGruber's like, I'm the worst.
Yes, he is.
So now he goes and gathers this dream team. The first one is pro wrestler Chris Jericho, and all of this dream team is WWE wrestlers at that time.
Yeah,
I couldn't name them all, but his exchange with Jericho is hilarious. Like really, really funny.
15-foot python in your pants. I've missed your dick jokes. Thanks. I've missed saying them. I've missed hearing them.
Yeah. Oh no, thanks. They're fun to say. They're fun to hear. That's why I listen to them. then he gets Mark Henry, he gets the great Khali, he goes to see the Big Show, which I was not expecting this joke. Big Show is like in a auto body shop, and he's like, looks over, he's like, hey, MacGruber, in slow motion. Then a guy walks in to hand him a drink, and they kiss on the lips.
Yep.
And MacGruber's like, and then he crosses his name off the list. So, boy, yeah, MacGruber, not the biggest ally to the gays.
No, not really.
But he pulls this team together of just unbelievable muscle men, basically, because about 3 of them are like some of the biggest wrestlers physically.
Yeah, and they're in this van. They're getting ready to go off on the mission. They've packed this van with all their guns, and all these homemade explosives. So then Colonel Faith and Piper roll up to see them off. And Faith, one more time, is like, hey, you sure you don't want to take Piper? He's a hell of a man. Faith ends up walking away, and Piper and MacGruber get into it, basically just going back and forth again. And he tells them, I'd love to have you on, but there's just so much, husky guys in there, and, a bunch of C4 explosive that I pack with my own hands. Flash to the van exploding behind
Massive
them.
just explosion. So now, and I had a feeling, because this dream team was like a little too perfect.
Yeah.
They all adore MacGruber.
Yeah.
They are all massive, beastly men. So yeah, they're all dead.
All dead. And their body parts are everywhere. And he's running up being like, you guys okay in there? Call 911.
He kept saying, call 911, which that was killing me. I mean, one day you'll know what it's like to have a friend, and then you'll be sad when
hey,
no, but it's hilarious. Call 911, call 911. It's like that thing. Yeah. So so now they're saying they're going to call off this operation.
Yeah, because it's their funeral. He had them. He'd said some words and everything, and he's gotten too close to it now. Also forgot to miss that Vicky Salemo is contacted before this as well to join the team, which is Kristen Wiig, but she declines out because she's also changed her life.
Yeah, and she's just practicing music horribly. We find out that she was best friends with MacGruber's bride-to-be.
Yeah.
And the way they reveal that is she gets splattered with
her blood at the wedding.
Yeah. So it's pretty funny. And Kristen Wiig plays this very well. She's very understated, very awkward, very nervous.
Yeah.
Which I think is very funny and adds a great element to the whole thing.
But yeah, Faith wants to take him off, and he's like, I can't do that. And he's like, no, I'm sorry, MacGruber, that's the way it's got to be. So Piper comes in to talk to Faith, and MacGruber tries to get him to convince him that they can do this together. And he's like, I'm sorry for what I said. Offers to suck his dick at one point.
It's a bizarre whole thing where MacGruber basically says, like, I'll suck your dick. I'll let you fuck me. I'll fuck you. I'll let you watch me fuck something. He says, just tell me what to fuck.
I love
tell
it.
me
Tell me
what
what you want me to fuck.
He just keeps crying that. And the best part is, like, he turns away from him. He turns back. His pants are down. And he basically makes him comment, I don't have any lube, but copy toner will work.
White out. Yeah. He's like, put your pants back up.
So, and that was a good moment because MacGruber is very hard to like.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would say actually impossible
to like.
So it's nice to see him be pathetic often.
Yeah.
It helps. I do think sometimes the balance was not quite enough.
It's not.
To really keep you from just going, wow, what a fuckhead.
So Colonel Faith comes back in, and Piper and MacGruber are MacGruber on the floor with his pants off. It's just like, I love it because Powers Boothe takes one look and he's just like, huh? And then they're just like, okay, we're gonna, I'm gonna join his team. We got this together. And then Kristen Wiig comes in, so she's a part of the team now.
So now it's a 3-person team.
3-person team.
Yep.
And their first stop, even though they have the element of surprise, is MacGruber finds out that one of Cunth's nights clubs is in Vegas, and they go and just cause chaos.
He just goes on stage and says, my name is MacGruber and I'm here for Cunth. And this is one thing I thought was really funny. Every single time in this movie that they have any possible element of surprise, he gives them up immediately. So now, not only is he given up that he's after Cunth, he gave up that he's alive. Cunth thought he was dead.
Yeah.
So and I love that then the Pentagon people are even like, what did you do? Now they're going to be looking for you everywhere. And then the next shot is Kristen Wiig dressed exactly like MacGruber. And she's like, why do I have to be you if everyone's hunting you?
So they come up with the idea that since he's gone to the nightclub, they know that he's alive now, that they're going to send people after him. But as they leave the nightclub, we also have a guy that shouts at MacGruber, hey, nice car, dickhead. And that's when MacGruber says, fuck you, and also starts repeating this man's license plate numerous times, which is KFBR 392.
And this is a fascinating thing because it keeps paying off later. Like Felipe's character, Piper, finds a notepad with that number written over and over again. And then an illustration of him pooping on the guy's head.
And peeing into the guy's mouth.
And it's I mean, and they're drawn like a child. In fact, his handwriting looks like a child with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Which I thought was perfectly planned because it becomes very obvious very quickly that MacGruber is something else. Because when they talk to Cunth afterward, they say all the stuff and Cunth is like, what? And they were like, well, what, did you kill him or whatever? And they're like, we thought he was mentally challenged.
Yeah.
I thought that was friggin' hilarious. So now we know that Cunth knows he's alive.
Yep. They're sending men after him. And also, I love this scene with Cunth because Val Kilmer was a painter. And I mean, he did a lot of paintings for one. So that's really just him probably doing one of his paintings. But it just shows what a good actor he is in portraying like a Bond villain. Like this is such a Bond villain moment that he nails this entire movie.
Oh yeah. So now that Kristen Wiig is dressed as him, we have this obscenely painful scene where she's buying a coffee as MacGruber.
Yeah, because he told them where he was going to be was the Starbucks, and so she's buying this coffee, and he's got the earpiece.
He's
on
walking her through every element so that she does it like him. So he's like, no, take that tip back. That wouldn't be. I'd buy a Tazo tea. I wouldn't tip. Take the tip back. And she's just like really awkward. But after all of that, then he's walking her through taking a sip of the tea. He's like, now bring the cup to your mouth. You're going to tilt it until the tea is in your mouth. And then gunshots start firing. And they fake you out and make you think Kristen Wiig's being shot at.
Yeah.
No, they found the van.
They found the van
which was
20 blocks away because that's a joke. Because he's like, she's like, 7 blocks away. He's like, oh, you got me. It's more like 20 blocks.
20 blocks. And he's like, it was the closest we could get. And he was like,
Piper's like, there were so many further closer spots.
Like, yeah, with meters. Oh no, it's a great line.
So the van is getting shot up. Vicky's screaming in the coffee shop and just making a scene. And
because she's hearing in her earpiece them getting shot up.
Yeah.
So she's dropping to the floor. All these people in the store are just looking at her like she's completely insane. She was talking to herself first. And now this.
So MacGruber ends up getting a wet mop. He gets the car started. They push the van forward and run Hosbender down, which is the guy that's shooting after them. And they crush him against this freaking trash.
Smash him good. And we almost forgot to mention, MacGruber won't use a gun.
Will not use a gun. No, he never uses guns.
It becomes a bigger point later, but he won't use a gun. That's why he does all these weird improvisational weapon things. He won't use a gun.
Won't use a gun. And this is also at the point we find out too that he really has no idea how to solve like a mystery. Like he can't put together like what's going on.
You could have just stopped it. He has no idea.
He has no idea. Well, that's my favorite thing was when he flips through the notepad, clues one
and
empty.
Nothing's there. Well, and at one point he says like, "What's your plan?" He's like, "Don't worry, I have a plan. I like to make it up as I go." And he's like, "That is not what a plan is." Yeah, it's such a great guy. Because also it's like, why did they want him for this mission?
Yeah,
like. What the fuck?
So they find Haas's car. They find a huge thing of money in it. They find GPS to this warehouse, and they also figure out that Piper figures out that they're going to buy the passcodes for the nuclear weapon. And so they decide to do another operation and go to the warehouse.
And this time they dressed again. Kristen Wiig gets dressed up as the guy they just killed.
Yeah.
So she has like a facial hair and a wig. Again, why not anyone other than her?
Piper's dressed as MacGruber. That's the best reveal, too. They pan over. He's like, and why am I MacGruber? He's like, first off, you'll never be MacGruber.
He's such a dick. He's always saying something mean. So then, if I remember correctly, was this a distraction?
This is the distraction.
So he pulls out a celery stick. He's like, I'll cause a distraction. He walks out with his pants completely off, covering his penis.
Yep.
With celery sticking out of his ass, just kind of dancing,
getting the guard's attention so that Piper can take the shot.
Yeah, but Piper's just like, what the hell? He's like, take the shot now. So he shoots all 3 of them. He's like, see, I just killed 3 guards without a gun.
He's like, actually, I shot them.
I shot them. He's like, yeah, when they were distracted
by me. And then he also tells him, if he ever wants to do the celery trick, you're going to want to start with the thin end. Now I know, like the thick end. Now I know the thin, might seem a little bit more abrasive, but it'll get thin, it'll fall out. And he's like, I'm never going to do that. Never ever say never ever.
Yeah, never ever say never ever. So now Kristen Wiig walks in dressed as the guy.
Yeah, and
it's really funny.
MacGruber goes, just take it easy. And, get in there. By the way, they're going to think you're Hosbender. So you got nothing to worry about. Yeah. She walks in. That's not Haas.
She's not even through the doorway. They're like 40 feet away, and they immediately are like, that's not Haas. So they start
shooting. Open fire, yeah.
Luckily, at that point, Piper and MacGruber are up. Well, really, luckily, Piper is up there. So they start shooting back at them. And
MacGruber goes to making a handmade grenade, and he even asked Piper at one point so he can have his gun to stir something with. And he's like, no, use your finger. He's like, watch your tone.
Oh, my God, yeah. And so they drive off after killing a couple of bad guys. His handmade grenade made out of a tennis ball lands, and sits.
Puffs.
Well, the best part is it sits for like 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah,
and
you think that's the joke. So that completely got blown to smithereens. Vicky comes up and she's like, hey guys, I peed my jeans. I peed them.
Yeah, no, super funny.
So they don't have the passcodes. They have no idea where Cunth's men is going now.
Yeah, they got the money. They got the passcode. So
Yeah.
now, like, legitimately, they have a nuclear weapon that they can use.
Yeah. So that's when he's like, I don't know what our next step is. And suddenly Haas's phone starts to ring and he's like, give me that. I'll trace it. And he gets on it and he's just like, listen, you son of a bitch, Hawks and son are dead. And you're next if you don't tell me. Oh, they hung up.
Yeah, and they're like, and the best part is they say, oh, he hung up. Did you trace it? And they're like, we need 20 seconds. And my first thought was, that's not even that long.
No.
20 seconds
And he
is
goes,
really
well,
short.
that was 20 seconds. And Piper goes, that was maybe 2.
And then the phone rings. He hears the phone ringing. He's like, see, another chance. And he starts saying the exact same thing and realizes that's not the phone that was ringing.
Yeah.
It was his own phone. So
And
he answers it.
Faith is telling him, and he's like, element of surprise is blown. Like, by the way, Cunth's having a charity event. Oh, no, this is where he tells him. He goes, Cunth's having a charity event tonight. And he's like, oh, yeah, we know all about it. We're going to be there. He's like, absolutely not, MacGruber. Like, right now we have the element of surprise on our hands. Cunth thinks you're dead. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, he does.
We definitely will not go to the gala. Smash cut. They're going to the gala.
Oh, yeah. And all he's done, because he has this mullet, all he's done is comb it down.
Yeah.
So he looks like the biggest dweeb.
Yeah.
And this is the scene where we start to get this hint that he is kind of in love with the Kristen Wiig character, because she says, like, I'll go get information out of that handsome guy. And it just becomes an argument about that guy's not really handsome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no, I want you to follow that old man.
If you like that guy, go marry him. Give up the mission.
Yeah,
go marry him.
Give up your job. Do you want to give up your job? No? Okay.
We should also mention that his low profile entry, because that's what he tells Piper not to worry because he's going to be low profile, pulls up in his Corvette, is blaring Take Me Home Tonight by Eddie Money.
Walks in flipping off the door people. No, it's
obscene. And so he says he's got some business to take care of first, and he goes to Cunth's bathroom, which we'll get to in a second. He comes back, he's talking to Vicky, he tells her that he took an upper decker, and then he also goes to find Cunth, who is playing cards at his own party. And the guy that he's playing with is the senator, and he tells him that Cunth's bluffing. The senator ends up losing $700,000 and is pissed.
And then their confrontation is just kind of it's oddly benign.
Well, the one thing that I want to point out is he goes to Cunth and he's like, I had a team. He's like, yeah, I had a team too. He's like, I had assembled all my favorite mercenaries and I had them in this room, but I also had this homemade C4, so it blew up and they blew up. And he's like, oh my God, you're never gonna believe the same thing happened to me. He's like, actually, that didn't happen to me because I'm not a fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's so good. No, it's so good. But it also is a little bit of showing the cards of the ridiculous reveal about what their history is together, that they kind of talk to each other like friends almost.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He's getting ready to get into a fight with this man. He tells one of them that he's going, Derek Mears, he tells him that he's going to punch him in the eye. He's going to kick this guy right in the balls. And he's also going to get one throat rip in. He thinks it's going to be this guy. So anytime they're ready, gets thrown through a window.
But he doesn't just get thrown through a window. He goes through the window, lands, and goes, my back. He just starts complaining about how bad it hurt, which is so much funnier.
Derek Mears breaks the radio, throws it out, because he has a car radio that he takes with him.
He carries his tape deck from his car so that it won't get stolen everywhere he goes in his hot shit, silly old car.
And one of the best jokes throughout the movie is there's always like a kick-ass song that he's getting into his car to that's like the total action baddie, the tune that you would think, and he changes it to some soft rock something.
Yeah, every time. No, there's a lot of really funny stuff. It's just the fact that he has this doesn't care about anyone's life mentality is really fascinating, because I believe, is this the part where they go back to
the Pentagon?
Oh no, okay, not yet when Felipe becomes this human shield.
Oh no, not yet. That's coming up. So they go back to the Pentagon, and that's when Faith reprimands him, takes him off the case, and that is when we also cut back to Cunth, who is like, hey, great party. Would love to know how MacGruber got in here, and Derek Mears admits it was him. He stands in front of this blank canvas, shoots him in the head, and he's like, okay, now somebody go kill MacGruber and hang that in the foyer.
Yeah, somebody kill MacGruber and somebody hang that in the foyer.
So
a little modern art. I like it.
So MacGruber is taken off now. So they are sitting at his trailer and they're having some beers. And that's when they explain the history of him and Cunth.
Oh my God.
I'm going to pull up the quote.
No,
I can
please
get this
pull
right.
up the quote, because this is so good, because he's like, because she's like, why did he kill your wife on her wedding day?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. I could never figure it out. I've been racking my brain forever.
To this day, I have no idea. We actually all went to the same college together, which we flash back to them in college, and Val Kilmer's got hair playing a guitar.
Ridiculous blonde wig that's so 90s. It's great.
Believe it or not, we were very close friends. Then after graduation, he got engaged to her. He asked me to be his best man. Right about that time, I started banging her and mowing her box. She was actually the first person I felt comfortable enough around to let eat my butt. Anyway, shortly thereafter, she left him for me. She was actually carrying his child at the time. I asked her to terminate it, obviously, so we could start fresh, and she agreed. We were so in love, and he took that from me.
Yeah, so he has no idea that he's literally done everything awful to this guy you possibly could. And now you're like, oh.
Well, even Piper's like, that's really fucked up, MacGruber. And MacGruber's like, yeah.
But he thinks he means about his wife dying. That's why this MacGruber doesn't even understand that he means what you did was fucked up. He's
No.
like, yeah, it is.
So they're drinking beers. Vicky goes off to the bathroom, and that's when Piper goes to grab another beer. MacGruber sees the gunman have moved in, and he tells Piper to get down, goes behind him.
But right before that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Right before that, he told Piper, like, you know what? You're not so bad. I like you. Then when they come in, he literally uses his body as a shield. He's taking bullet after bullet after bullet after bullet.
Flips him around when they get back to Vicky.
Then puts him over the back of the car to take more bullets as they're starting the car. Now, as they're driving away, she says, is he dead? And he goes, of course he's dead. And then you hear Ryan Felipe going like, and he's like, how did you know I was wearing a bulletproof vest? He's like,
you were wearing a bulletproof vest?
That's great.
That's great.
That's great. Oh my God.
And Piper's pissed, obviously. He's like, stop the car. And he's like, why? He's like, you just used me as a human shield. And he's like, no, I didn't. And Vicky's like, yeah, you kind of did.
Literally in every way. And at first I thought he was going to be dead, at which point I was going to be like, man, the balance is really hard on this comedy.
Yeah.
But no, that was a nice payoff that he was wearing a bulletproof vest, but he took like 50, 60 bullets.
He took a lot of bullets.
Yeah. So now MacGruber's basically on his own.
Yeah, he's on his own. So Piper gets out of the car and they go back to Vicky's house. Vicky pulls a bullet out of MacGruber's leg. This leads to a whole sex scene that is one of my favorite jokes in the entire movie.
Well, so first it's just like the music swell. They cut
Broken
to
Wings by Mr.
his
Mister.
ass first.
Yep.
And then it's like she sticks her finger in his belly button. It's all slow-mo and sensual. Then it just smash cuts to this wide shot of him just making the most ungodly sounds. And like and also being kind of a jerk.
Oh, a huge jerk, because he's still like telling her things. She's trying to talk dirty back to him, and he's like, Shh, I got this.
Well, she also told him she was a virgin.
Yeah, not for long.
Not for long. A great, horrible line. So he finishes up with her and then immediately like storms off.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta go. And she's like, what's wrong? And he goes out to his car, drives to the cemetery where he sees Casey's ghost. And he's like, I'm sorry I had sex with Vicky. And Casey's like, no, it's okay. You have to move on. And Casey suddenly comes back into reality. She's got the ghostly veil at first. Then when she gets close to him, they share a kiss. And then they start having a sex scene.
But it's the exact same scene, almost, except in the graveyard.
Yeah.
So the same slow music build, the touching, and then except they show a guy who works in the graveyard walking
cemetery
by
worker.
and just seeing him banging nothing.
Yeah,
with
the
his
air.
pants down.
But then we cut back to Casey. Wow.
Oh, yeah,
wow.
she keeps saying wow.
Maya Rudolph is
wow.
hilarious. So if you're not keeping track of that, dear listener, he had sex with Vicky, then in ashamed goes to the cemetery and has sex with his wife's ghost.
Yes. And then as he's getting out of there, he realizes that the car is there. The guy who messed with him, he's like, what a coincidence. So as he's keying it, Faith calls him and tells him like, look, this is what's going on. Like, we have to stop him. And he's like, we just don't know where he'd be.
Yeah.
He's keying the car. He's breaking all the windows as he's talking to him very normally.
Yeah.
But then he looks inside the car and sees a newspaper
that says the State of the Union is coming up tonight. Tonight, by the way, like really quick.
Like right now. And he's like, wait, I think I know what it is. So then he goes to his car, pops the trunk, grabs a gas can, continues to fully destroy the car. So as he's walking away, this car explodes. Yeah. That's just petty revenge.
And the driver goes, what the hell? And he's like, fuck you, dude. And drives away. So while that was happening, we also, the call from Faith told him that the guy, Dieter Von Cunth, that he was actually clean. That he wasn't.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't find any evidence.
Couldn't find anything on him. And that reveals that the senator is actually corrupt. He ends up shooting Colonel Faith when they get off the phone. So now we see that Senator was corrupted by Cunth, who was at the party, who lost the money to him.
Right.
So now MacGruber knows what's up. He also realizes that Vicky has been kidnapped as he goes back to her house because he gets a call and it's Vicky's phone. Cunth answers it and basically tells him that, this is what you're going to do. And also if you show up anywhere near around me, I'm going to break Vicky's phone. And he's like, I think I've got it. The phone is Vicky, right? And he's like, yes. And hangs up.
So now we get into our action movie thrilling conclusion.
So that is when, on their way to Cunth's compound, he picks up Piper and he agrees to do one last mission with him. And that is when we get the montage of MacGruber going to his trailer and loading himself up with all his accoutrements.
Bottle caps and pins.
Thimbles, paper clips, push pins.
And of course, a celery in
a
his
celery
butt.
stick. Yes, celery stick in his butt. So they get to the compound and they end up finding their way in. And that is when they get into a huge firefight. Like, they've been ambushed by this point, and he's telling MacGruber that you need to use a gun. And he's like, no, I won't do it. And he's like, why? And he's like, I don't know how. So then Piper shows him how to use a gun, and MacGruber, the rest of the movie, anytime he has guns, which is usually dual wielding, it just has the funniest face as
he's just flailing his arms, firing. He's like, this is great. He's not hitting anything.
Because they're shooting next to each other at one point.
Well, and at one point, he's like, I got that guy. And Felipe's like, I'm pretty sure I did, but great effort.
Yeah. So they get their way into the compound. MacGruber once again blowing the element of surprise because they get to the control room and he gets on the PA telling Cunth to come down here and that, they'll do some throat rips because we also see that MacGruber gets his first, if not two, throat rips in of the movie.
Yeah, he just rips people's throats right out. So luckily, this actually turns out to be somewhat strategic.
Yeah.
Because they leave the
base or the
comm
compound,
space.
yeah.
They leave there. Everybody comes in to catch him, but then they find even more guards. They have to keep fighting and fighting.
My favorite is the guards get into the control room and a water cup, a Dixie water cup spills onto them. And it's the guard that's dead because he threw one of my favorite jokes is he throws a box of throat lozenges down in front of the guard. And he's like, throat lozenge. He's like, you're going to want to take the whole box.
And then he rips his throat out.
But he has the guard giving the middle fingers and it's just a sign on that says, ha ha, you're all wet.
Yeah, it's so silly.
So they end up getting captured by Cunth's men. They're brought to the compound along with Vicky because my favorite part is they go into Vicky's room where Vicky was tied and she's just like a dog that got into a leash like the wrong way. Is like completely like tumbled over in the chair and wrapped in the ropes.
all tangled up. And at one point I do want to mention MacGruber tells Piper that he's like rehearsed his like big thing to say.
Oh yeah, to say to Vicky. Yeah,
he's like, I've been saying it to say to Cunth.
To Cunth. Yeah.
I've been rehearsing it. I'm like ready for it. You're gonna love it. He's like, well, I hope I get to hear it.
Yeah, because
like, you will.
The whole movie he keeps saying, "Time to go pound some Cunth." That's his catchphrase for this. And also, I'm gonna cut off your dick and shove it in your own mouth.
I mean, that's less a catchphrase, is just a constant threat he's always making.
Yes, because as we get to the conclusion, he's face to face with Cunth, and he's been captured at this point. Cunth reveals that he, he's like, why'd you kill Casey? And he's like, I didn't, you did. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, it's all right here in your manifesto, which is just pages and pages of loose leaf stapled together that says, fuck you, America, MacGruber's manifesto.
And the best part about this is MacGruber does not get what he's getting at. No. So he goes like, I don't know who wrote that, but it wasn't me. He turns to
you gotta believe me, Cunth. You gotta believe me.
Yeah, he's like, I made it, MacGruber. And he's like, oh, what the
fuck, you asshole.
It's a pretty solid moment. Also, they nailed the fact that it looks like it was made by a child.
Yeah. So that's when he's like, can we get to everybody's death? I'm going to turn Washington, D.C. into a pile of ash. But first, let me have some fun before we kill you all. Goes to MacGruber, holds up a pair of scissors, and cuts the mullet down.
Which was really funny. Because it's like super dramatic and it's
Vicky's
super like
screaming out. MacGruber is just going through all these facial expressions and then gets rageful. And my favorite thing is Val Kilmer as Cunth puts the hair on his back and he's like, I'm MacGruber, time to go pound some Cunth. Yep, fuck you.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
And meanwhile, while this is happening, MacGruber just goes rageful in one throw, grabs both the guards' throats and rips them out in one grab. And yeah, I mean...
So at this point, we're at the nuclear warhead that was stolen that's going to be launched at the White House, I believe.
They've killed Cunth's men. Cunth is now handcuffed to the nuclear, to the station for the nuclear warhead. And that's when he's like telling Vicky that, I've got something to tell you. They've got 3 minutes left to disarm this warhead. And he's like, okay, well, toss me those pliers, toss me this. And then comes back and he's made a wedding ring.
He's like, will you marry me? She's like, yes, but defuse the... It's so funny. No, I got to hand it to him. The making the wedding ring, that was
so
chef's
good.
Kiss.
So he goes into the warhead, pulls it down, and he's like, holy shit. He's like, there's so many wires in here.
I'm a three-wire guy.
Three-wire guy. There's a green one. Oh, God, there's a bunch of green ones. So then he just decides to rip the warhead core out.
He's like, well, now, without a warhead, it's going to be very... He's like, you idiot. It's full of enough phosphorus to still destroy the White House and kill the president and all of Congress.
Yeah.
And he's like, well... He digs around and he pulls out
the GPS tracker.
Yeah, the flight plan thing. And he's just like, well, now we can't fly anywhere. And he's like, which means we have 30. How long, sweetie?
30 seconds.
30 seconds to get out of here while you die.
My favorite is when he pulls it out. Val Kilmer goes, weak.
Right? No, it's super, super good.
So yeah, they get out, the explosion goes, but right before they leave, Cunth looks over and he sees an axe next to him. So we get an idea that maybe he didn't die. They get outside, the explosion is crazy.
Unbelievably big and yeah, and loud and yeah.
Cut to black 6 months later.
And now we're at a beautiful wedding.
At a beautiful wedding of MacGruber and Vicky, we see that Casey's ghost is there because the preacher is like, if anybody thinks these two should not meet, speak now. And Casey peeks around behind
and then goes
her.
like, kidding.
And then we also see MacGruber's comrades.
They're all ghosts there too, and they're in tuxes. They're all happy.
So everything's going fine. And then he starts to get a sense because everything's going just like how we saw the last wedding go. And he sees across the way that Cunth now has an RPG. He fires it right at them, kills the priest, which the priest dies in both
Blows
of these
up,
weddings.
but nobody else gets blown up.
Cunth swarms in on him. They get into a fist fight, and MacGruber gets the best of him. And he's like, Cunth, I've been waiting, for a while to say this. Time to suck your own dick. And he's like, come and get it. And he pulls his pants down, revealing that Cunth lost his dick in the explosion.
Yeah, and he's so mad about it.
So mad. So then he's like, are we done here? And MacGruber's like, we're not done. Headbutts him, beats him up, throws him over the side of a cliff that they're on for the wedding, apparently.
Yeah, the trellis was in front of a cliff face.
Yeah.
So he pushes him off the cliff, then grabs a gun from Piper because Piper just has a rifle. And as he's falling, he's shooting him full of holes as he's
slow
falling.
motion. Then we cut to regular motion, still shooting him. He hits the ground. We see him splat. MacGruber goes, fuck you, dude. Shoots off a rocket at him and then turns around with the gun and goes, I do. And then we get MacGruber.
Well, you forgot that then he pees on his body.
Oh, yes, pisses on his body. How can I
then
forget?
we see the corpse and it starts raining and you see him just pissing over the edge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, MacGruber.
And then we get pictures of the wedding. We see that MacGruber from Piper, also the Colonel survives somehow.
Oh, yeah, he's just in an arm sling after he was shot at point blank range. I love that gag.
Piper gets him a radio. Him and Vicky share their first kiss and then fuck on the dance floor. There's also like shots of crime scene tape. And also one of my all-time favorites is the bartender at the wedding is the guy from the coffee shop that Vicky took the tip back from. And we see MacGruber's written a sign that says no tips.
Oh my gosh. No, it's a wacky flick.
Yeah.
MacGruber is a horrible human being.
Despicable.
Truly. But it was a very funny movie. I could see why it didn't do very well.
Oh yeah.
In fact, do you want to give that info?
Budget on the film was $10 million. Opening weekend is May 23rd of 2010. It comes in at $4,043,000. And then
opening weekend, it did that much.
$4 million it did opening weekend. US grossing was $8 million. Worldwide is $9,322,000.
David, that means that like a lot of people went to see it opening weekend.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a theater statistic for you.
But that like it had no word of mouth. It fell off entirely. Wow.
Filmed in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Suffered one of the biggest theatrical fall-offs in recent cinema history when it dropped from 2,546 cinemas to only 177 in the U.S. in just 3 weeks. Grossed just shy of its $10 million budget. Parade listed it as the second biggest box office flop of 2010.
Wow. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Man, and I think it was a little late for that style of humor.
Yeah.
I think if it had come out in 2007 or 8, it might have done a lot bigger business, because this being so raunchy, being so kind of mean-spirited was really kind of falling out of favor, because, then Bridesmaids comes out and it's much more in that it kind of cemented that kind of like Apatow adjacent comedies where they were very similar in tone. I mean, they could be a little bit more wacky or ridiculous, but that was really kind of the death knell of the really wacky comedy.
Lee David Zitloff, creator of the TV series MacGyver, felt that his legal right to make the film version of the series was compromised with the release of MacGruber. His lawyers sent several cease and desist letters to the production company and met with litigators, although ultimately no legal action was taken.
I mean, I got nothing on that.
According to director Jorma Taccone, the first draft was 175 pages.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Although rarely used, MacGruber's first name was Angus, but MacGruber was never revealed. Will Forte said on Bill Burr's podcast that he was paid $12,000 for the film.
I'm sure he was going to get a great back end when it was a huge success. Ugh.
When one of the Ecuadorian kids steals the necklace from MacGruber, he says, Chupamelo? Chupamelo MacGruber. In Spanish, it means suck it, MacGruber.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Val Kilmer's line, "Sorry, I don't speak Russian," is an Easter egg, a reference to Kilmer's earlier movie, The Saint, where he says that same line.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. The journal, which contains the multiple pages of KFB R392 Piper finds, was actually made by Will Forte himself while on set.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
A major influence on the film was Die Hard from 1988, which is director Jorma Taccone's favorite movie. Taccone actually located and used prop C4 explosives from that movie for the action sequences in this one. In addition, Val Kilmer and Powers Boothe were both told in pre-production meetings with Will Forte and Taccone to act like you're in a Joel Silver produced film in 1988.
Yeah, they hit that. I honestly felt like they were really lampooning like the 98, 99 action movies that were really big. But yeah, I could see that for sure. Because they were playing it huge and serious.
The Will Forte owned the Mazda Miata that MacGruber drives in the film. Forte revealed that he sold it for $50,000 for charity, and he personally delivered it to the buyer in Texas. The man who purchased it then taught his son how to drive stick shift in the Mazda. Forte also brought a MacGruber-style costume for the driver to wear.
They were like, "What's this costume from?" And he's from MacGruber, and they were like, "From what?"
The cast includes 6 active at the time WWE wrestlers: Dalip Singh, who was the Great Khali; Glenn Jacobs, who was Kane; Paul Wright, who was the Big Show; Mark Henry, Chris Jericho, and Antonio Burke Jr., MVP.
Jeez, that was a great touch.
Yeah. Will Forte refused a body double for the controversial sex scene between MacGruber and Vicky St. Elmo. However, he surprised Taccone by expressing some discomfort at the number of people who were on set at the time. Taccone then said he didn't know Forte cared about being naked in front of strangers.
Well, that's the way to find out.
Kristen Wiig shot her sex scene on her birthday. In the first sex scene, Vicky is constantly moving her head side to side. The reason is because Will Forte's sweat was dripping onto Kristen Wiig. Director Taccone assumed he would get an NC-17 rating because of the sex scenes. Yeah. Maya Rudolph was about 8 months pregnant when she shot her scenes at MacGruber's as MacGruber's wife.
Yeah, they did keep her. I could see that they were hiding something.
Val Kilmer and Will Forte almost ended up being on CBS hit series The Amazing Race because of the film, where they became good friends. Kilmer later stayed at Forte's house for a few months while searching for a new LA-based home for himself, and Forte, a huge film of Tar, introduced Kilmer to the show. They were about to apply as a team when the other work commitments led to the idea being dropped. Basically, their agents said no. You can find a whole article on it that I think it was Variety did recently.
Huh.
Powers Boothe and Val Kilmer also appeared together in Tombstone in 93 on the Lonely Island set and Seth Meyers' podcast. Taccone said the two of them kept the comedy stars, all huge Tombstone fans, enraptured with behind-the-scenes stories about the movie.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And lastly, among Christopher Nolan's favorite comedies, he quoted it constantly on the set of The Dark Knight Rises.
Wow. I got nothing. Wow.
What are your final thoughts on 2010's MacGruber?
It's a stream it.
Yeah.
It wasn't earth-shattering. It's definitely it was out of step even when it came out, which I think is why it just died.
Yeah.
A horrible death. But it was fun. It had some charm to it. There were parts where I was like, man, how are they going to make me
come back
for MacGruber? Because they keep having Piper not actually die helped.
Yeah.
And then the sex scene being so embarrassing helped. But I kind of wish he'd been dumber a little more often.
Yeah.
But I really got a kick out of it. I think, if you want some dumb fun and you don't mind a little bit of a mean, raunchy comedy, it's worth watching.
Yeah, it's a stream it for me too. This is a very particular comedy. You really have to love the raunchiness. You have to love the absolute stupid comedies to really get into this one. But this is just one of those movies that if you haven't seen and been curious about, if you're curious, check it out. You might like it, or it might be something that is not for you.
I'm glad I checked it out. We watched the unrated version too.
Yes, we did. So we always like to end the show with a couple of recommendations. I have 2 this week, starting with 2008's Tropic Thunder, currently available on Hulu and Paramount Plus. Through a series of freak occurrences, a group of actors shooting a big budget war movie are forced to become the soldiers that they are portraying.
I do love me some Tropic Thunder.
And second, I'm going to go with another Val Kilmer classic, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang from 2005, currently rentable on Prime Video and Fandango. After being mistaken for an actor, a New York thief is sent to Hollywood to train under a private eye for a potential movie role, but the duo are thrown together with a struggling actress into a murder mystery. One of Shane Black's most underrated movies, if I had to say.
So after watching it, I had to come up with, one. And there was one movie that popped into my head immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a comedy film. And I think it did an even better job of a really like hateable character.
Yeah.
And that is 2006's The Foot Fist Way.
I almost picked that, but I was going to let you have that actually.
Directed by Jody Hill, who went on to become well known for Observe and Report, but of course more so his HBO series like Eastbound and Down, Vice Principals, and the recently ended Righteous Gemstones.
Yep.
And it stars Danny McBride, and the description is: an inept Taekwondo instructor struggles with marital troubles and an unhealthy obsession with fellow Taekwondo enthusiast Chuck the Truck Wallace. That doesn't even begin to...
No.
The thing is, Danny McBride is so good at playing somebody who you could never like and somehow getting you to like him.
Yeah.
And this was the first film that really established that type of comedy that he and Jody Hill would kind of become famous for, of having characters who are deeply flawed and deeply egomaniacal, but somehow you still
like them.
You end up liking them.
Yeah.
And The Foot Fist Way is a great one, especially if you're a fan of those series. Then it's a really great example, because this was made before Danny McBride was much of anything as an actor. This was him and his buddies from film school in North Carolina who all got together and made this movie. It's currently streaming for free on Pluto TV, or you can rent it on Prime Video. Really, really funny, underrated movie.
And I would piggyback off that because it just kind of brought me back. If you want a darker version of The Foot Fist Way, I would go with The Art of Self-Defense with Michael Cera.
That's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
It's not Michael Cera.
Or not Michael Cera. It's the other guy, Jesse Eisenberg.
Guy.
But no, Jad, The Art of Self-Defense was one that you showed me or texted me that I needed to watch immediately. And
that's a phenomenal movie.
But darker.
Yeah, well, it's not, it's totally different. It's just, except that it has the same setting.
Yeah.
But it's very, very dark, very weird, very clever.
Yeah.
I really loved it.
So do we have any emails this week?
Maybe. Yeah, we do. We have an email. If I can open it. There we go. This is from our buddy Birdman.
Oh.
So it says the headline subject is good for mental health. Hey, Hen and Dave. As always, I'm glad to be listening to the podcast again now that I'm enjoying my freedom after being trapped inside for 3 months due to a broken wheelchair.
Yeah, he had a rough go there.
It was rough. So I was listening to the latest show on Carrie. I really enjoyed the conversation, and it dawned for a suggestion for a theme month.
Ooh.
Quote, it's good to be the king. And it's only Stephen King adaptations, but preferably lesser known ones.
I like that.
I really like that idea.
I like that a lot.
That made me have an idea. We should do a theme that's I can't believe it's not Stephen King, and it should be any movie that like really feels like it's Stephen King and it's totally not.
So all Greaser movies.
So like Pumpkinhead 2, and there are other ones. There are quite a few. Anyway, could be amazing to hear you guys talk about those adaptations and learn something new. That's a really good idea.
I agree.
And that's the first time we had a month suggestion. Yeah. Like one of your other writers, I also use this podcast as a form of good mental health for myself. I often find myself going out to explore my local community and throwing on an episode. It's almost like the pair of you are walking alongside with me and just taking in the conversation. I know I've said this before, but one of the greatest strengths this podcast has over many others is the authentic and genuine nature of both of you. It's a true gift to have. That's very sweet of you to say.
That's very sweet. Yeah.
Shut up, David.
No.
I'm talking. I don't know if I ever tell you both this enough, but I'm always grateful to have gotten to know you both as friends, but also who collab with me in many different ways. Someday, I promise massive bro hugs to you both for the immeasurable ways you have both brought joy and creativity to me. Someday, I hope to hear you tackle my suggestions, but I'm always glad to hear whatever is served up next, and I almost always listen early on Patreon. Top tier sub, motherfucker, LOL. Be well, my friends, and until next time, be excellent to each other, Mike.
Awesome, Birdman. Always great to hear from you. Always great to do a show with you as well. And I promise Dungeons and Dragons, some version of it is coming to the show at some point this year.
And for those listening who love pop culture podcasts, you should check out This Week in Geek. That's Birdman's podcast, and it's really, really great. You and I have both been on there a bunch of times.
Yep.
And if you guys want to email us, by the way, you can do so at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com or go to doyouevenmovie.com. That's the way to get a hold of us. And we do love hearing from you guys. Emails like that really do mean the world, especially when I'm doing the show, even with a horrible ear infection or at this point, a moderate ear infection. It is appreciated. to hear a little something positive about what we're doing. It does mean a lot to us. Also want to mention, if you love what we're doing here, make sure you subscribe either on your podcasting app or on YouTube if you're watching this with your eyes.
Yes. And would you like to know what we are talking about next week?
Perhaps.
Well, guess what? Because we are coming on my birthday pick week because it's coming up. So we are going to be discussing 1997's Wishmaster.
Oh, all right. I mean, it's been a while since I've revisited Wishmaster. I love that movie.
Currently available on Plex, Pluto, Roku. There's a beautiful set that Vestron put out a couple years back that is all 4 of them. Really, really good deal for, honestly, several good movies. Wishmaster is undeniably the best of them.
I enjoyed 2 quite a bit.
2's good. I mean, any of them with Divoff. The first 2 with Divoff are fantastic. When they go to the Power Ranger looking Wishmaster, I got a problem.
Wow, hateful Dave over here.
But yeah, we're going to be talking about Wishmaster from 1997. Just a lot of fun in that movie that's going to be discussed on that one.
Yes, and speaking of fun, we're about to get out of here. I'm going to go take David to finally see Fight or Flight before it leaves the theater. I think it's going to be quite an experience for you. So
I'm excited.
He'll give you a full report next week.
Yes, I shall.
So with all that being said, we're not going to talk about butts nonstop like MacGruber. Man, they talk about butts constantly in that
They talk
movie.
about butts a lot.
There's a lot of butts in that.
I would like to say Val Kilmer's filmography, if you have not looked at it or missing some spots on it, there's a lot of good things on there to be discovered. Like I said, Kill Me Again was one I just found just looking on Prime. I cannot recommend Thunderheart enough. Even his appearance in True Romance as Elvis character, people forget that's him. I mean, he was always a really, really good actor. The movies may not have been up to par, like Dr. Moreau. Still entertaining to watch.
Well, he was becoming the biggest star in the world for a minute there, and he got a pretty bad reputation for a while because of it.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to see that people are appreciating him and missing him. He deserves it.
Yeah, and if you have not seen his documentary Val, currently on Prime, I cannot recommend that documentary enough. You'll get a really humanistic look into him, and also see that this Mark Twain show that he was doing really could have taken him to the next if he would have stuck around with us.
Yeah, I need to watch it. It's just probably sad, I would guess.
It's extremely sad. I cried basically the last hour of it because, once they get into that section of it, it gets really sad. But yeah, Val Kilmer, we will miss you, but thank you for leaving behind an incredible body of work.
Absolutely. And thank you guys so much for joining us, not only tonight, but hopefully for the whole month, as we've been talking about great films featuring people that are no longer with us. And unfortunately, that list grows and grows because movies are only getting older.
And we just lost, unfortunately, we found out George went today as well, too.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, it sucks.
Because I've never heard a negative word about him.
No.
And but I think eventually we should do King of the Ants.
King of the Ants will definitely come to the show.
Not only him, but how incredible Stuart Gordon's body of work is.
Yeah.
And how much of it is underappreciated.
Absolutely.
That's the shocking thing. People remember like a couple of the big ones, but he made a lot of great movies.
He really did.
A lot of great movies.
Yeah.
So, but without all that said, we're going to get out of here. So we hope you all have a good week. We will, of course, see you next
MacGruber?
But until then, guys.